This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, united in hate, the left's romance with tyranny and terror. My friends, tonight I just wanted to remind the viewers of the Glazov Gang and stress once again, reflect a little bit on the book that I have written, United in Hate, the Left's Romance with Tyranny and Terror. Just to remind my viewers of what I'm about, what is my main calling, what I'm most interested in, and how highly relevant it is in today's world, especially, and why I dedicated my life to it, and of course, what really the Glazov Gang is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, my book, United in Hate, unveils why the left has its romance today, for instance, with jihad, with Sharia, and why the left in general is always in a dance, in a romance, in an alliance with America's enemies. And I'd like to encourage all of you who have not read United in Hate to grab a copy, because if you want to understand what's going on today, how and why United in Hate documents and reveals and exposes and unveils what's really in the heart of the left and what those impulses are that motivate the left to be in alliance with our enemies. So for instance, even today, when you turn on the cable news, and I do it every day, I turn it on and that's my life. This is what I do. I study the left. I don't only watch what I like. I watch a lot of what I don't like, and that includes CNN, MSNBC, CBS, these cable shows and news, and I'm not even sure if we can call it news anymore because it's just the anti-Trump opposition. But when you put it on Don Lemon, you put it on Anderson Cooper, you put it on Rachel Maddow, they can't even get off Trump for a second. Not even for a minute. You just put it on and they're trying to get Trump. They're trying to get Trump. But when you even look at them, like when you look at Maddow, you look at Don Lemon, look at Anderson Cooper, boy, do they hate Trump. I mean, they just wear it on their face. They wear it in their eyes. They're consumed by a hatred of Donald Trump. What is that? Why do they hate Donald Trump so much? Why can't they even get off him for a second? And that's what I dedicated my life to, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, I'm not just talking about the left's hatred of Trump. I'm talking about the leftist heart of darkness. Because what is that hatred? What is it that Donald Trump represents? And we know that it's very much connected to the fact that for the last 8 years, the radical in chief, Barack Obama, he had an axe and he was just going at the foundations of America daily, right? He openly even announced it himself before he even got into office that the transformation of the United States was going to begin, which obviously means the destruction of the United States. They want to destroy the United States and then build their socialist utopia, classless utopia on its ashes. But the left hates Trump for this because he stopped what Obama was doing. He prevented Hillary from coming into office to finish off what Obama was trying to do. Trump loves the American idea. Trump loves America. And Trump does not abide by nor is he trying to fulfill the objectives of identity politics. That's part of it. That's the foundation of it. They hate Trump for that. And it's very important for those of you that want to understand this to, if you have the time and the interest, I outline all of this in United in Hate because I dedicated my life to understanding the left and what motivates the left. Even look like at an issue like Iran in our contemporary world at this very minute. There's young girls in Iran, young women or older women, but women, even the 8-year-old girl, that moving profound, powerful picture of that 8-year-old girl. Took off her hijab and she's just waving the hijab in Iran and risking her life, symbolizing a real woman's movement, a real movement for freedom. Where is the left? People are getting killed in Iran. Hundreds, thousands of detainees, many of them getting tortured and murdered for freedom, fighting for liberty. Where is the left? Why can't Don Lemon and Rachel Maddow get off Trump even for 30 seconds to defend that 8-year-old girl, or to defend the women in Iran that are being put in prison for 5, 10 years for taking off the hijab? Where are they? I thought that they were for Muslims and for the Muslim community, because those are Muslims being persecuted. There's a reason why. Because the left does not support the dissidents and the freedom fighters under Islamic tyranny, because the left is on the side of Islamic tyranny, just the way that the left was on the side of Soviet tyranny. United in Hate explains the psychology behind that, if you want to figure it out, or if you haven't yet figured it out completely. And I'm not saying I figured out anything completely, but I have studied it and unveil many of the ingredients of the leftist heart of darkness. Just one more thing, just even off the top of our head, because we can bring up so many good things that Trump is doing. But Obama prevented a threat assessment from being made, okay? So under Obama, so many of those terrorist attacks, for instance, could have been stopped. Obama has blood on his hands. In terms of San Bernardino and Orlando, the Boston Marathon Massacre, Fort Hood, everything that the left did in terms of jihad denial and creating an atmosphere where we could not protect ourselves properly from jihad, Trump in many respects is bringing an end to that. You know, because he's about naming our enemy and making a proper threat assessment and surrounding himself with people. Not all people, by the way, because there's some people around him that are very, very bad, but he does have some good people around him. We're hoping that the better people will come in. But Trump himself has been naming, articulating, verbalizing even the word Islamic terrorism. And this is very, very important stuff to do, because in many respects, as we've explained on this show, and as people like Stephen Coughlin and Robert Spencer and many others have explained, it saves lives, because when you can label the enemy properly, you can defend yourself from the enemy. Obama was a catastrophe in that, and maliciously at that. And my question is, where is the media on this? Why won't they give Trump credit on this? Well, we know why. Just one more quick example. Under Obama, the rules of engagement in Afghanistan, for instance, was getting American boys and girls killed. More Americans died in Afghanistan under Obama than before. American soldiers would write to their families and say that they were more afraid of the rules of engagement, and that it was the rules of engagement that would get them killed instead of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And that is what happened. And the rules of engagement are atrocious, were atrocious under Obama. All this stuff about you can't shoot first, you got to wait to get shot at first, you can't shoot under these circumstances. They had to give a warning before they came and searched a place, and obviously the Taliban and Al-Qaeda would find out, etc., etc. This was getting Americans killed. Trump has come in and started bringing an end to a lot of these very suicidal rules of engagement that were getting Americans killed. Where is the credit for that? When was the last time CNN did a special on this and gave Trump credit for it? When was the last time MSNBC did it? They can't do it because they're leftists, because they're on the side of the enemy. Ladies and gentlemen, so much is happening today in terms of this leftist alliance with jihad, with Sharia, and it's lethal. And United in Hate explains that. My book explained and exposed and revealed this leftist tendency, and it's more relevant than ever. I just want to say that on a personal note, my family escaped from the Soviet Union when I was a kid. I was a little baby. And when I came to America, I was so grateful. And I love this country, and I knew that I was in a paradise from the moment I arrived, even as a little kid, because even if you don't understand freedom intellectually, you can feel it in your soul and in your heart. And I fell in love with America from the moment I set my feet on the ground here. My mom tells me how my jaw was just hanging open in front of Burger King and in front of the shopping centers and everywhere that I went, even as a kid, because there was nothing like that in the Soviet Union. And there were, of course, deeper reasons in terms of the fear being gone and in terms of our persecutors now not at our front door anymore. But my point is that I grew older. I began to see a certain species of people, I'll call them that were on the side of the Soviet regime, that yelled at my parents, that criticized my parents, that said that where we were now was an evil place and where we came from was a great place. And those were leftists. And that's where my interest developed. Who are these people? Why are they on the side of the Soviet regime that killed millions of my people and persecuted my family? Why are these people praising Mao and praising Fidel Castro? And as I got older, and then of course 9/11 was the turning point when we saw leftist feminists even marching with Islamists during those demonstrations against the interventions in Afghanistan and Iraq under Bush. When we saw those anti-war demonstrations, we saw the leftist feminists marching, screaming Allahu Akbar next to Islamic supremacists. And when I was watching that, I finally realized, I got to write a book on this, because these feminists would be exterminated within 30 seconds of contact if these people had power. What makes a Noam Chomsky embrace a Nasrallah in Hezbollah? What makes Naomi Klein write an article called "Bring Najaf to New York"? This is a leftist feminist. Najaf, during that time, during the war in Iraq, that was al-Sadr's killing fields, where somebody like Naomi Klein would be exterminated within 30 seconds. What is that? What causes this alliance? What motivates it? And so today, ladies and gentlemen, it's more relevant than ever, because we see how the left has facilitated all of the Muslim refugees flooding into Europe, changing Europe completely. And we know what's going on in terms of crime, the increase in jihad, the Sharia no-go zones. German activist Rebecca Sommer, for instance, recently admitted what a huge mistake she had made and that the left had made in allowing this flood of Muslim immigration, because the people that are coming from these Sharia territories and from the territories where jihad is preached and inspired and sanctioned, it's bringing problems. My point is, what was this love affair, and who are the people that organized this to perpetrate a suicide of their own civilization? So, ladies and gentlemen, just to conclude, this is what we're seeing today in terms of the political pilgrimages, the fellow traveling of the left back during the Soviet era, back during the communist era. That's what United in Hate does. It documents the past in terms of when all these leftist fellow travelers traveled to Soviet Russia, to Maoist China, to Castro's Cuba, to North Vietnam, to Sandinista Nicaragua. And when they were visiting Soviet hell and communist hell, they believed that they had found utopia. And many of them gave their lives for that. Many of them were exterminated by the very people that they worshipped, because it's a suicidal journey. And so even today, when we look at, Chelsea Handler, Whoopi Goldberg, Rosie O'Donnell, Joy Behar, Amy Schumer, Ashley Judd, whatever you think of those particular individuals, they're supposed to be feminists. And yet they are reaching their hands in solidarity out to the people and to the forces that are mutilating women and persecuting women under Islamic gender apartheid. And in many respects, they're having a love affair with the burqa and with the hijab, that represents that mass mutilation and persecution of women under Islamic gender apartheid, and the honor killings and the acid attacks, etc., etc. So ladies and gentlemen, just as a reminder, United in Hate, more relevant than ever, because it explores this ultimate impulse to blur yourself into a collective totalitarian whole. What's really lying beneath all of this is a hatred of the individual and a hatred of self. These leftists, they hate man for who and what he is, and they want to create a utopia, a classless utopia. And so they have to destroy the world that is. And they want to shed themselves of their own unwanted selves. Daniel Greenfield has written about this very poetically and profoundly and powerfully in terms of how the leftist wish is also, it's a desire for immortality, but not in a spiritual sense, but in a sense of worshiping totalitarianism and losing themselves and actually losing their own lives through their utopian journey. And so what we're seeing today, ladies and gentlemen, is really just this death wish, the Marxist idea, the socialist idea in its earthly incarnations. Ladies and gentlemen, if the president of the Freedom Center, Michael Finch, is reading United in Hate, if Annie Cyrus, the producer of this show, is reading United in Hate, if people are actually reading United in Hate while they're teaching boxing and during a boxing workout, if people are actually reading United in Hate while bungee jumping, you've got to get United in Hate. Good night.